Hey, let's recap Grimm Season 4, Episode 10, called Tribunal. Okay, so we have the investigation. We're gonna find Monroe. So Nick and the gang at the precinct are, really running down all of their leads. They got nothing. They got no one else to connect to Riken, who is the Grand Master. So they decide they have to bring in Officer Acker. Even though they'll show their cards, they literally got no other options. So what they have to do is they have to get Wu ready for a Volga, because they want to put him in first since he knows Acker. And he can maybe make him trip up without showing their hand. So they bring in Bud, which was just the greatest idea in the world, because there's nothing scary about Bud. But again, he's very nervous about, showing himself in front of somebody, and he premature Vogas for the second time, because the first time when he showed Juliet. And so he does, and Wu's like, whoa, do it again. Which is exactly how Hank reacted when he saw Monroe Voga for the first time. So they're flashing back to everybody, all the Kirstaitas finding out about Vessin and how they reacted. They're all pretty much, collectively the same. Because Hank was like, whoa, that was freaky. Can you do it again? Once Bud is done at the precinct, and they got Wu all set, he goes to help Juliet and Rosalie, who are trying to find connections between the list of Vessenrine people and the list of people who attended Rosalie's wedding. And so they literally got nothing. And Juliet is taking them way off track, talking about Adeline and how did she get her powers? Because she was a Hexenbeast and then she lost her powers, so can Hexenbeasts not be born Hexenbeasts? And Rosalie's like, yeah, they're more powerful and it's an excruciating process, but why are we talking about Adeline? Can we focus on my husband here? Offhandedly trying to get information out of her without telling her about her situation, and it's not really working because this is not the right time. Like, come on, Juliet, focus! The clock is ticking, and Officer Acker is being interrogated by Wu, and he's not getting anywhere. And he's got no answer, and so finally he's like, you're lying, you're a Vessin. And then he vogas into a Bauerschwein, and I'm like, holy crap, Bauerschwein? They hate Blutbot. No wonder he went after Monroe when he found out. Thanks to Bud, we know exactly what that connection is, because he says, oh, John had a date named Suzanne, and she's a real estate agent, and so Rosalie's like, okay, forget calling him, I'm going to her office, this is taking way too much time. At the same time, Nick is showing the captain his badge, saying this is getting in the way. So Nick is like, I'm through asking questions, we know you know where he is, tell us, and he's not telling. And so Sean Renard gets in there and flips him over and says, oh, I'm sorry, did you think we were playing by the rules? And then he locks him up in jail, and Nick's like, locking him up is not going to do anything. And he's really right, because, they have no leverage on him, they're not going to get him to talk by throwing him in a jail cell, so really they have zero, they have nothing. Luckily, when Rosalie and Juliet get to Suzanne, she admits that she has a brother who's a cop who does know Shaw, and that's how they make the connection to Jesse Acker, and so they know exactly what the connection is now, because apparently John was a guest at Rosalie's wedding, and he brought as a date Susanna, who is Jesse Acker's brother, and Jesse Acker is in the Vessenrine, so that's how that happened. So he's sitting in jail, and they're like, hey, we're interrogating your sister. And Rosalie is, not letting this bitch leave her sight. She's like, no, my brother could never be involved in anything. I'm super uncomfortable. I want to leave. And Rosalie's like, sit down! She has had it up to here with people trying to tell her to calm down, or that this isn't a big deal, or that they'll figure it out. By the end of this episode, Monroe has been captured for a good 48 hours. So honestly, if no demands or ransom has come, it's obviously like a kill. And because it's Vessenrine, Rosalie knows that that's exactly what they're going to do. Nick has a plan to deal with Acker, because now they have his sister, and so they have leverage. And so he's like, I'm a Grimm, I'm gonna kill her unless you tell us where he is. And he, closes the door saying, come on, Suzanne, I'll bring you home. And then he looks back at Acker like, yeah, that's right, she's dead. And so he admits that they're in this park, and so then they get their coats, and they walk down the hallway like some awesome hero squad, getting ready, going into action. There's, music swelling in the background. Alright, the game is on, because Bud, after leaving Juliet's, gets captured by the Vessenrine, who is apparently their eyewitness. He gets knocked on the head in his truck, and the guy drives his truck all the way to the Tribunal. So we get to the Tribunal. So Monroe is definitely standing his ground. He's not letting these people crush his spirit. He's not bowing out. He's not admitting defeat. He's even cracking jokes like, do any of you know what atonement means? And I'm sorry, just for procedural clarification, shouldn't it be beyond reasonable doubt, not beyond any doubt? And then he vogas and, like, escapes for like 2 seconds, but he manages to kill one of the Wessenrhein. He, like, rips out his throat, all blutbad, and they're like, no, we should kill him now. And the Grand Master is like, no, the Tribunal decides his fate. So it's pretty clear that the Grand Master is definitely, like, using his ideology and this Tribunal as a way to justify that, because not even him killing a guy is getting through here. So they show pictures of his and Rosalie's wedding, which gets him very upset, and then they bring in Bud as the eyewitness, and he denies everything, and he actually starts rambling on in his Bud way. Oh, I forgot the question. What was the question? And the Wessenrhein are like, you're trying this Tribunal's patience. And I'm like, well, welcome to every episode of Grimm with Bud in it. So major themes in this episode definitely are, police work versus Grimm work, hate groups versus what's right and wrong and what you can actually control. And Monroe actually gives a great speech in his defense. He says, you guys don't have an authority to judge because you don't know the difference between right and wrong. What's right is my love for my wife, and that you will never be able to destroy. And then he goes on and says, this isn't about purity. Like, nothing is pure. The world is messy, and you can't stop that, so get over it. And then he says, that his love for his wife is what's pure. Basically, Monroe thinks he's gonna die, which is, like, a very powerful statement to make at this point in time. Even, like, very strong, powerful, oppressing hate, it will not corrupt people's attitudes, it will not destroy people's lifestyle if that's what they've established. Because you cannot corrupt love with hate. And it's also, like, extra creepy because Monroe has blood splattered all over his face that was trying to cleanse the impurity out of him with blood from a skull. Creepy on all levels. However, despite Monroe's lovely speech, the Tribunal takes off their masks as a sign of guilt, and it's unanimous. He has sentenced to death. So they burn the Wolfsangel, and he's about to get skewered. Bud's, like, screaming, no, 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 as Monroe is about to pay for his sins. The gang shows up, and everybody's got a gun. Juliet's got her gun, the captain's there, Wu and Hank both got giant muskets, and Nick's got his Grimm powers back, and he's threatening everybody like, yeah, that's right, the rumors are true, Burkhart is back. Finally, Nick gets to release all this anger that's been building up about him, about his best friend being captured, and he, like, kills the guy just by punching him. That's Grimm strength for you. Wu also kills his first Wesen, so congratulations, Wu, you are officially inducted, and Captain Renard vogas into half Zauberbeast, and he rips this Haslick guy apart, and Hank's like, damn. And of course Juliet also gets to show off her new Hexenbeast skills. She's, like, clawing away from that little puke Jonah, who's the little brother, and, he's like, oh, you're gonna die, and then she vogues into a Hexenbeast and uses her mind psycho Wesen powers to blow the top of his head off. Yeah, it's really gross. But the best attack in this scene was definitely the Monroe and Rosalie co-slaying, because Monroe tracks Reckon down, and they're, like, Blutba fighting it out. It's like Blutbot on Blutbot, boom, boom. Then the guy takes out a knife. Like, you are a Wesen with wolf-like characteristics, with brute strength, and you're so lame you take out a knife in order to fight? Like, what are you? Who are you? But it doesn't matter, because before Raken can kill Monroe as he promised, Rosalie shows up and vogas and attacks him, and she uses her fox-like claws and teeth to scratch out his throat, and then Monroe joins her. Like, they're both on top of him, and they're, like, tearing out his flesh, and you can hear both of them going at him. They're both killing him together. It's great. It's like, that's something that couples can do, and something that Monroe and Rosalie can do together is kill the guy who tried to kill them. So Sean Renard makes a statement that this was a hate cult who kidnapped and killed people, and the leader was Jesse, who is in jail, so they don't have to say that they killed anybody, or, they're gonna fudge how many they killed, and there were 9 survivors, and they all testified that yes, it was Jesse. And he's going to go into jail for a very long time. just what I like about this speech is that Sean Renard says that, you know, for now this hate group has been eliminated, but that does not mean that it's gone for good. We have to be ever vigilant, which I think is a very good message because hate and like putting these people in jail and violence is not going to stop hate groups from hating. They're going to like have their attitudes and they're going to think what they want to think no matter what you do to them. And it's not going to stop the hate in the world, but you can at least squash it with a good episode of Grimm with a lot of social metaphors. So then we have a scene in Monroe and Rosalie's living room where they're all toasting to the fact that they all did a good job, they all work together, they have amazing friends who would put their lives on the line for Monroe and Rosalie, and Monroe gets very emotional because he thought he was going to die, and he really just wants to thank everybody because he wouldn't be here without all of these people in this room. And they got everybody. I mean, they got Renard and they got Wu, who knows everything now. So it's a really great moment of appreciation. That scene is then turned into comedy when they got two police cars driving Monroe and Rosalie to the airport. A police escort in a limo. Nick and Hank say that they're totally going to accompany them on their honeymoon. You won't even see us. We'll blend right in. Wu is learning about things in the trailer and flips to a page of Hexenbeasts, which is obviously foreshadowing. Juliet, instead of going to Nick, goes to Sean Renard about her Hexenbeast problem, and instead of telling him everything, she just vogas for him. So he's in shock, but hopefully since he's a Zauber beast, he can help her figure out what's going on.